Right. We are ready to start. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the webinar this morning. My name is Tebogo Mabota from the Academy of Science of South Africa. You're all welcome. Like I said, you can share the live streaming link with your colleagues. It's on the chat box. Any technical glitches, please let us know, let us Kolani know. But you are welcome to this webinar. We are commemorating World Food Day, which happens annually on the 16th of October. On the program, we have a lineup of speakers that will tell us more on this topic, where we will be looking at opportunities towards sustainable food security in South African urban settings. So you're all welcome. Now my program has just decided, sorry about that. So I will be the facilitator of this webinar today. Commemorating World Food Day. If you can use your social media buzz to share the discussions with the world out there. The hashtag is hashtag food security _urban and hashtag World Food Day. The recording of this webinar will be shared with everyone in attendance. Now, a little bit of introductions. As you have seen in the invitation, that South Africa's population, there's a notable proportion of the population that is food insecure, with the numbers increasing in urban areas. Now, urban food security is characterized by low dietary diversity, high malnutrition and obesity, and distinct hunger sessions. And it is estimated that by 2050, 8 in 10 people will be living in urban areas, which means that this challenge will increase. So we really need to do something about it. And when we look at SDGs, SDG 2 says that we need to end hunger, number 1, achieve food security and improve nutrition and promote sustainable agriculture by 2030. And SDG 6 says we must ensure availability and sustainable management of water and sanitation for all. So the question is, how far are we? Because 2030 is here. So I'm hoping that the discussions today will bring light into that topic. So I just want to quickly play a short video just to bring the discussions in focus of what we are talking about this morning.
Our planet may be called Earth, but its surface is made up mostly of water. Water flows within us and is the driving force that unites all nature. Water is food, prosperity, energy, life. Yet today, too many people go without it, while others take it for granted. Care for water. Cultivate a sustainable future. Water is life. Water is food.
Right.
Notre planète s'appelle la Terre.
So that's the theme for this year. Sorry about that. So that's the theme for this year. Water is life, water is food, leave no one behind. So on that note, I would like to welcome Prof. Himla Sudial, who is the Executive Officer of the Academy of Science of South Africa, to give us the warm ASSAf welcome remarks. Thank you, Prof. Over to you.
Thanks, Tobacco, and good morning, one and all. Thank you for gracing us with your presence on the celebration of this occasion of appreciating food. As Tobacco has mentioned, and the 16th of October was International Food Day. We're a few days late, but nevertheless, I am sure our panel is going to inspire us with their interpretation of the theme, and that is the opportunities towards sustainable food security in the South African urban setting. Now, I note the word urban in that title. And as you all know, and as Tobacco has mentioned, since the new democracy, there's been an influx of people from the rural areas into the urban areas. And the encroachment of what was agricultural terrains, etc., are being challenged, as I'm sure some of our speakers would allude to. Earlier this year, I was fortunate to have driven from Durban to Cape Town and also from Pretoria to Mpumalanga. And for the first time, it dawned on me how rich our agricultural systems are outside of the city limits. I mean, as far as the eye could see, there were mountains, rolling mountains of agricultural plantations, etc. And I wondered about how well these agricultural products are making it into our local markets and to what extent our products are being exported. I'm not an authority on the subject, but the thoughts did cross my mind. But as you all can see, I'm a very good consumer of fresh produce as a vegetarian, and I love food. Food is central to the theme of who we are as individuals, as who we are from our culture, and we use food in demonstrating our compassion for society, for our fellow family members, and so on. And it is the iconic part of any celebration. So we have a rich diversity of cultures in South Africa, and with that, we have a rich diversity of foods, the way they prepared, including the richness of our indigenous cultures. So with that as an appetizer, I want to once again welcome our panelists. Thank you kindly for giving us of your time and all the participants who have joined us. We look forward to a stimulating discussion. And I also want to thank the Green Youth Network for partnering with us in making this webinar possible. So with that, colleagues, I hope you enjoy it. And I won't be back later to say anything, and let the green tradition prevail as we take on the All Blacks tomorrow at the World Cup Rugby. All the best, and I'm looking forward to this entertaining and thought-provoking discussion. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you so much, Prof, for that. Beautiful introduction. Yes, we all love food, and it's a hot commodity that we can't do without. Thank you for the warm welcome and making everyone feel at home. Now, I also want to thank Green Youth Networks who partnered with us in this webinar. And really, we wanted to bring a diverse personalities in terms of experience and all that. And the first speaker that we have is Prof. Mari Manjoro, who is the Associate Professor in the Institute for Rural Development at the University of Venda. And she's also a SIAS, which is the South African Young Academy of Science alumni. She served as an EXCO member a few years ago. So we welcome you, Prof. I will stop sharing so that you can start with the presentation. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Teboko, for the warm welcome. Let me see if I can. Okay. I would like to appreciate the organizers for inviting me to this webinar. And mine is to set the scene for the celebration of today. And I would be looking at the status of food security in South African cities and urban areas. But however, you would notice that as I go with the program, I thought of including the rural setting as well, because the agenda was mainly focusing on rural setup. And now, because of the imbalance, we now see the challenge within the urban area. So it's always good to have a picture of the other end, so that at least we don't solve the other and then the other one is left behind. So as an introduction, I'll just define food security just to give ourselves into the picture, and link it with the food systems, because that's the one which makes us have the food that we are looking for. Then I'll now go to the status, and this will help us to have deliberations in terms of solutions that are required, and in that way paving way for the panel members. So with regards to food security, we are saying the World Food Summit back then defined it in such a way that we are not leaving anyone behind in terms of being food secure, where we are looking at having the physical, social, and economic access to food, but that food should be in sufficient quantities and should be safe and nutritious. That's the one that will assist one to have an active and healthy life. But however, there are dimensions that are aligned to food security, which we are looking at to this end. And we have food availability. And in this case, we are looking at being available at the local level through production. But however, there are some circumstances when there is need to supplement it through imports, and in some instances, we have some food aid if there are some disasters. For instance, it could be flooding. There is issue of food access, and in this case, we are looking at an individual. I think we are all aware that South Africa is meant to be food secure as a country, but when you go to household level, some houses are not secure. And within the intra-house as it is, there is still some disparities with regards to dimensions in terms of food access. So we are trying to ensure that an individual access the required amounts. And in this instance, we are looking at the quantity and quality, so that at least the diet is of good enough and nutritious for a healthy living. Then the issue of utilization. Is the diet adequate? Is it clean enough? And that's where we bring in the issue of water. Like it is being indicated in the theme for today. We are looking at water coming into play with when we are looking at production of food, and even in the whole value chain from production until one is consuming. There is need for water, but do we have enough of it? We are also having challenges with regards to scarce water, and not only the rain and the like, which is even impacted by the climate change and variability, but even the underground water is becoming depleted in the country. So what should we do then? Issues of sanitation and healthcare are included as well, and so much research is undergoing in that regard. Then the issues of stability. There are some circumstances that one may be food secure today, but the next day there is a challenge. So that seasonal availability or access of food is not encouraged if we really want to be food secure in the country. There could be some climatic issues or cyclical events that affect a stability of food as well. So this would leave us into the issue of food systems, where we are looking into the availability as well as access. And in this instance, we are saying it should be available to us in right quantity and right quality. But are we accessing it? And all of us. And in this instance, we are with food systems, we are looking from the farm to the fork. And when we consider the access of food, there are many ways of accessing food, but the major ones are on production. Are we producing adequate food? Are we producing with enough resources? There are some instances that food is produced, but probably it's leaning towards the grains and less of the protein. There are some instances whereby others are limited by land availability. But some might be having land, but they may be lacking the skills to produce. So what should we do then? Then we need to zero into that and see how best can we ensure that we have maximized the production of quality and quantity food in the right amounts. Then with regards to access, it can also be through donations. But the question is, we don't have a say as consumers. We are taking what has been given to us. This can be through the government or through probably the aid like we indicated, or remittances that are sent to families by those who are working. But at times you don't have a say, you have no voice in it. So you might receive food, but is it the rightful food that you want? Is it diverse? Is it safe? Is it nutritious? That's the question. The other mode of access is through the markets. That's where we need to buy to supplement what we would have produced if we had opportunity to produce. If we can't produce, then we are solely depending on the market. But what is it that is in the market? Is it sufficient enough? Am I going to the market that is providing me with the food that is required for me to have an active life? In some instances, we are forced to buy what is there just because we don't have money. So if we have limited funds, we tend to buy just for us to fill the gut, but not necessarily considering our dietary requirements. So even issues of pricing, issues to do with the economy and unemployment, they impact us in terms of accessing food at the market. So we are looking at availability of food in terms of me accessing it physically. Is it close to me? Am I having the means finance-wise to afford that particular food? And is it of good quality and safe? So these are the issues that we would need to deliberate later on to see and how are they coming into play in us being food secure. But as we look into these aspects, there are some key systems that interact with food production and its whole line. We have the issue of energy. For example, we are having some power cuts and the like. We also have the issue of trade, health, as well as the water supply and the like. So those issues need to be put on board and see if we can really achieve this goal. But all in essence, food systems are there to promote food security and ensure that we have what we need for a quality life. So this is what I've been alluding to, so there's no need for us to go to that. The same with the issue of the market, just that at times there are factors like diseases, and for instance, right now, eggs are now very expensive. The issue of globalization, we are having chickens, for example, from Brazil, but do we have a share? Do we know in terms of safety with the type of chickens that we are receiving? So coming on to the security status with regards to food, we would notice that globally it's a challenge. But at a global space, we would notice that sub-Saharan Africa will take the bigger percentage with regards to being food insecure. And this is noticed by having about 50% of people being undernourished within the region. And look, so coming down to South Africa, we have about 28% of people living in extreme poverty and below the poverty datum line. Some statistics were showing that some were having low income. And I think this has been even exacerbated by loss of jobs, even the COVID-19 where production was low, others losing jobs and the like, and some earning as little as 554 rands per day. And because of that, many households are food insecure in the country. But the question now today is to say, majority of this proportion is coming from the urban area, and they are mainly Africans and especially female-headed households. So if we look into the rural communities, looking into food access and hunger, we would notice that 8 out of 10 of the households are having this challenge, and 15 of them having inadequate access to food, and 6% severely not accessing food. So those aspects that we're indicating with regards to the interplay of food systems are impacting on food security. And most of them being affected are children. And we would notice that most are found in the Gauteng, KwaZulu-Natal, and the Western Cape province. Reason being, the children, they'll need more nutritious food for them to grow. The moment they don't have, then that's where we see stunted growth. And for studies that were done by others, for example, Mseleku et al. In 2023, they noticed that children that were given meat, village chicken meat, at least there was improvements in terms of their growth in their active life as well as in class. Because that type of meat, apart from providing protein, it also provides some essential micro and macronutrients that will deter issues like anemia and diarrhea. So there's need for us to look into issues of undernourishment as well, to those also who are mainly affected in the country. The other thing is to do with agricultural activities. Yes, there is land, but there are other aspects that are affecting production, such as the skills, like I indicated, water and many other resources. And looking into this, few households then are involved in agricultural activities. This is according to the General Household Survey that was conducted in 2021. And none was taking place in the non-metro areas. This is probably why one of the reasons why we are having high food insecurity in the urban areas. So main reasons for engaging in agricultural activities is to provide extra food sources for a household. If they get some from the market, and in some instances, others receive some grants and food parcels. So the report is also suggesting that there is increasing agricultural production that is required for us to improve our food security. The advantage that rural setup has is that some tend to make use of wild food products. And in this instance, they enrich their diet. Some can sell to generate income. But now when we come to the urban center, we would notice that 2/3 of them, it was reported that they are vulnerable to hunger. And within that, Cape Town and Johannesburg was mainly affected. And if we look even to the study that was done by Nika back then in 2015, not only in the cities, but even in informal settlements, 70% of them are skipping meals or do not even know what to eat next. And it affects the adults because they don't even, mainly with children, because they don't even know what to give them next and where to get that particular food. And for a study that was done to look at village chicken production from a rural to urban gradient, it was noticed that as you move from the rural to the urban area, there was reduction in terms of production of the chickens, as well as even consumption. And then it also impacted on the food nutrition status of the households. So in this instance, we can see that more than 500,000 of the households is with children that are below 5 are affected. And it is crucial to make sure that they are included, as well as we are trying to put ways of reducing food security, insecurity in the country. But what are the main causes that are aligned to this effect of food insecurity? You would notice that there is generally low income, like I indicated before. Unemployment rate is hiking, especially for youth. Food expenditure on its own, some may not be having this, as we indicated with the issue of low income and unemployment. Household size, the larger the household size, the less the food and its diversity they can afford and to share amongst themselves. Then agricultural activities, which are dwindling with time, especially with competing and limited resources that are coming in, water included. Even location, I think we have already seen that with regards to the urban, informal, as well as the rural. So other issues to do with this is education. So awareness is important to ensure that we reduce this. Some people, they have burden within their budget, because there could be some demands which were unexpected, for example, illness or sudden loss of job. So there is increased also trend with regards to eating more cheap, or rather cheaper fast foods and less nutritious. And this is one of the causes of obesity within the country. The other issue that is being raised by researchers is that the purchase of food is more than 90%. And this is really may not be unsustainable, because the pocket already is crying, and now we need to purchase more. At the same time, they are hiking up food prices. I think we can attest to this, what is happening in the supermarkets. You get there, you see so many trolleys are left behind. It's not because they don't want. When they went there, they wanted that, but they can't afford anymore. So this high level of poverty is deterring households to purchase what they want and what can make them ensure that they are food secure. Therefore, there is need for urban planning and management to consider food systems, probably at a neighborhood, city, or on national scales. Looking into this, who are mainly affected? Women, especially expectant mothers, children under the age of 5, we have noticed, and also students, because they don't have option. They just go buy what is in the cafeteria, and much of it is the one that is causing obesity. And these are the ones with the largest population. And also some of them, after they have completed, are not employed. It was noticed that from 1998 to 2008, measures that were put in place assisted in halving food insecurity, which means something good was being done, and we need to go there so that at least we can achieve this goal, because the trend could not be sustained. So what is it that they did which halved food insecurity? But what is it that made it not to last is what we need to look into, so that it can help us to come up with the proper strategies. So this is time for all of us. It's not a one-man show. It's for everybody to come on board. the inclusivity that is being mentioned is for us to come up with ideas that will help us devise solutions as a team and in collective to make sure that we have food security. So looking at access, availability, and use of it, are we producing enough? Do we have efficient use of water, either in production or in consumption? How about stock? Do we have enough of them? If you look at the middle leg, do we have enough income? What is pricing happening? Is it supporting us? The markets themselves, infrastructure and distribution. How about gender issues? Do we really need to empower some there? Could it be women? Could it be men? We are focusing more on female. We are not sure. Are we having food that is good enough? Do we have enough knowledge to that? Are we preparing it properly? How about cultural issues? Are they not affecting in terms of food distribution? Things like that. How about stability? We indicated that it may not be stable in terms of supply. So what is it that we should do as a team? So today I'm saying, as we together are celebrating the 2023 World Food Day, we need to come aboard in celebrating it in style and coming up with ideas that will really leave a footprint for the future. So what are the key highlights here? Food systems assist us to understand better food security and advocating more for own production, because that's where we have a say compared to donations or markets. But looking into that, what is helping us to come up with better ideas is the status of food security within the rural and urban setup. But what are we saying? We need to include everybody, not only in accessing and availing food, but in devising solutions that will last. With this, I would like to thank you for inviting me and for organizing such a wonderful event to commemorate the 2023 World Food Day. Thank you very much.
Wow. Thank you so much, Prof, for setting the scene for us. What I took from your presentation is that every aspect of the food chain matters, from production until that food makes it to your dinner table. What has happened? How has each aspect affected the water? So, for example, food wastage because of lack of proper storage facilities, then it means that that food, we wasted water because we are dumping it into the bin. So thank you so much for setting the scene for us. Without waste of time, I'll hand over to Ms. Klengiwe Mbata, who will take us on the panel discussion. Over to you.
Thank you very much, Chair. Good morning, everyone. My name is Hlengiwe Mbata. I'm a senior specialist at the National Advisory Council on Innovation, popularly known as NICI. It is an entity of the Department of Science and Innovation. My responsibility is on developing M&E of STI policy and governance. My background is in conservation biology, and I have specific interest in issues of agriculture, because I think this is a topic that resonates very well with me, because it speaks to issues of food security, water security, linkages of water and food production system in the agricultural sector under the umbrella of sustainable development, poverty, hunger alleviation. I will not be taking too much time, but I would like to highlight that, as a policy person, I'll be interested to hear what my panelists will have to say on what will be some of the policies and measures that can then be put forward to address the issue of food insecurity and water insecurity, with particular focus on urban settings. And I also would just like to make a mention that in the policy space, we have a number of prescripts where we have tried to elevate the issue of rapid urbanization and its potential effects on food security. I'll just mention quickly the STI white paper, the decadal plan, and lastly, the Constitution of South Africa. Having said that, let me then welcome my esteemed team of panelists today who will be working with me on unpacking the panel topic called Youth-Centric and Water Sustainable Solutions that Strengthen Food Security and Water Conservation in South Africa, with particular focus on cities and urban areas. So I have Dr. Nathaniel Dlamini from Stats SA. Just on a quick background on who Dr. Dlamini is. He's currently working for Stats SA in Poverty and Inequality Statistics Division, and he's responsible for food security statistics. And we also have Ms. Thandeka Nkosi from KZN, Department of Agriculture and Rural Development. Ms. Nkosi is a Deputy Director working on extension and advisory services. His work is to support issues of extension service in the province of KwaZulu-Natal. We also have Ms. Precious Tule from More Seedlings, and lastly, we have Mr. Ruben Riley. Just on a brief background on Mr. Ruben Riley, he's a PhD candidate in food security systems through the adoption of green innovative technologies. Without further ado, I will hand over to the panelists. Thank you. We'll start with you, Dr. Nathaniel Dlamini, to give us a big background on the issue that we are trying to tackle today on youth-centric and water sustainable solutions that strengthen food security and water conservation in South African cities and urban areas. Dr. Dlamini.
Thank you, Ms. Mbata. Given the topic that we are discussing today, although as a Stats SA, we normally produce the statistics. We work on food security. We also work on poverty. So I've noticed that I think Professor Mwale Majoro has covered most of the stats that we produce. And then that is also very much encouraging that whatever we produce from Statistics South Africa, people take their time to read, and then people take their time maybe to try and conceptualize what we really produce. Some of them, they go and criticize what we produce, which is good as well, because it keeps us on toes that we have to produce quality statistics. I really appreciate that. In terms of, I have a short presentation because half of the work has been done for me, although really it won't fit exactly into the theme you have just mentioned, Ms. Mbata, but I really would love maybe to highlight more especially our role as SSA, and then the statistics we produce, and then we can also maybe assist in terms of, because we are in a position to provide, to help in the measurement of food security in the country. So how we can improve, what we can look out there to use as part of the measurements, since the Prof has also discussed those four major pillars of food security. Can I just go through just a brief presentation which I've prepared, and then which highlights the role as you can see, there are a lot of stats there. I'm not going to dwell much on them because justice has been done when it comes to them. So we, as a Statistics South Africa, we also define food security as it exists when all the people at all times have physical and economic access to sufficient, safe, and nutritious food that meets dietary needs and food preferences for an active and healthy life. So we also consider those four pillars of food security, that we look at availability, the access, and utilization and stability. We use, so far for now, we're using two methods of calculating that food security. which is we use the household food insecurity access scale. And then we also recently adopted the food insecurity experience scale, which is basically the method that is used by FAO. So it helps us to compare South Africa to other countries in the world in terms of food security, because there's also FAO in the report on the state of food security. They included some of the statistics from the General Household Survey. So the household food insecurity access is more like domesticated method that we use, and then that's when we are able to to also be able to link poverty to food security and also child hunger, and then the women involvement in agriculture, producing food, and also their sustainability. So those are what we normally calculate as a status A. And we also know that the National Development Plan also puts food and nutrition security high on the development agenda, with DALAD as the leader custodian of the food security implementation plan. The MDP recognizes agricultural production, rural development, job creation, poverty reduction, and also economic growth as part of addressing food security. We know as a country that we are facing a lot of challenges when it comes to food security, because of the high level of poverty, and then unemployment, income inequality, climate change in terms of producing food, unstable household food production, and also the past spatial and regulatory imbalances there. So also even now play a huge part. Food is expensive. People cannot access buy the food that they would have loved to buy. And then because of unemployment, they don't have money, because it's basically access. The food is available. What people have is to access that food. And poor household had hit. Then most of them also with a lot of dependence, and they are also vulnerable to economic shocks. Now we're experiencing skyrocketing interest rates and expensive food. So those are the people who are hardest hit. But as status A, we just currently we are in the field collecting data for income and expenditure survey. So where we'll be releasing probably in the next 2 years, probably maybe next year, we'll be releasing the results of how poverty is in South Africa in 22 and 23. Because as I've noticed that we haven't been producing this for a while. I can tell from the prof's presentation, they're still using figures from 2017, 2015, but there's hope that we're gonna get information in terms of food security, which we're gonna link to poverty. And since in the absence of a lot of methods, maybe I would also say, because of the budget as well, we ask these questions in our surveys, where people are uncertain, or maybe they are anxious about their ability to access, and then the quality of food, and also changes in diet, eating less balanced, or maybe just eating a repetitive diet, the decrease in quantity of food, or sometimes they skip meal, because people when they don't have that enough food, those behaviors, they kick in terms of trying to survive, to adapt to the situation, and start decreasing quantities, and then less balanced food. And also to the extreme where they feel like they're hungry, they can go the whole day without eating. So because of lack of money and other resources to obtain food. So these are basically the questions we normally ask. And also we are moving towards maybe looking at other dietary measures, which we can incorporate is what we call the minimum dietary intake for women. And also we're looking at the anthropometrics, where we're going to be able to calculate the BMIs and all that, because and then link it to the data that we have. So, okay, these are the questions really basically. Worried, eat healthy, nutritious food, few kinds of food, skip a meal, ate less, ran out of food, hungry, and then without eating for the whole day. So I'm not gonna go through the statistics because they have been covered, well covered. So we also look at this is the continuum of severity for food access. You start worrying about the anxiety to procure adequate food, and then you start compromising the food, reducing quantity, skipping, and then eventually experiencing hunger. So basically, this is what we measure our food security based on. I'm not gonna dwell much on, we also have those statistics of child hunger, which have been presented. And then we also look at how many children are there, and then we also provide those stats in the house. Although we can't get into those household, consumption of food, because there are different dynamics and all that. So we also look at those Cape Town, we look at the metros, and then if you can see that City of Cape Town has the highest, we have City of Johannesburg with 13.6, the highest in terms of the metros. And then the City of Cape Town, in the percentage of households that experienced hunger. So in KZN, the non-metro, those ones that have 20.1%, you can see that they have the highest. So most factors associated to the low production of agricultural produce. You can see basically it's a very low proportion. In the past, it's hardly 20% of households that are practicing agriculture. But there are a lot of things that come into that in terms of access to land and all that and so forth. And we also the urban and then rural and also the female. And then also we looked at as a main source of, how the access to food is linked to the main source of income for the households. We also looked at those ones, and then we gave, and then for most of those people who produce food for themselves, it's just an extra source. Most of them, you find that they're also working. They produce that because it's almost about 3/4 of those households as an extra food. And then as a main source of food, for those who entirely depend on that, it's a very small proportion. And we also, in terms of size of the household, the more the number in the household, the more they become prone to severe and inadequate access to food. So we have all that. We looked at the household size and then the experience of hunger. As long as there are more people in the house, it also increases. And we also, have in terms of employment. And then the number of people, those ones with no employment at all, they are the highest percentage in those who are represented with severe and inadequate, and also those with inadequate. So definitely we are done. Yes, ma'am. Yes, stopping.
Just 1 minute. You can say your concluding remarks in just 1 minute.
Yes. Basically, it's in terms of when we talk food security, insecurity in South Africa, it's connected to a lot of other factors, your employment, unemployment, and so forth. So, but really, it's to tackling food insecurity, we also need also a multifaceted method in which we can tackle it. So that we cannot just maybe have focus it on one thing. It's mainly a lot of other aspects that we need to improve on so that we can tackle food security. Thank you very much, ma'am.
Thank you, Dr. Lamini. That was quite helpful indeed. You know, in the area where I work on M&E, there's a saying that it is not possible to manage what cannot be measured. And you've provided here a methodology on how food security and poverty is being assessed by Stats SA. And as you've mentioned that, you know, a multifaceted approach is needed to be able to understand this issue at different levels, whether at national level, at district, municipality level, or at provincial level. That was quite helpful indeed. Now I'm going to hand over to Ms. Thandeka Nkosi from KZN, Department of Agriculture and Rural Development. Ms. Nkosi.
Thank you, Ms. Mbata. Am I visible and audible, and is the presentation online? Okay, thank you. Just want to put up the slide.
Yes, on slideshow. Thank you, ma. Thank you.
Sure. Yes, thank you. And I would also like to declare I'm having a challenge in terms of the network. I've been in and out during the past two presentations, but I've just prayed that it won't happen. Yes, thanks for the opportunity for the department to come in and indicate in terms of what are we doing in terms of food security in the province. Here I'll be presenting agricultural interventions towards food and nutrition security, Department of Agriculture and Development here in KZN. And also appreciating the two presentations from Prof. Mwale Manjoro and Dr. Nathan Dlamini. Yes, I think there's a lot that we need to be doing, but as correctly said by Dr. Dlamini, that food security is a multifaceted, it needs a multifaceted approach. And indeed, I think as the department in the province, this is just our input in terms of doing that. The presentation will have a background, the theme, introduction in terms of what is food security, and us as a department in terms of food access, performance, and our interventions in terms of the programs that we have: one home, one garden, household, seed distribution, township, community investment, and blended mechanization model. Touch on this one. When I did the presentation last time, it took me 20 minutes, and now I only have 10 minutes. I won't dwell much on this one. And again, the theme, it was well presented by Dr. Mabota with the first presentation and that video. So I won't dwell along.
Sis Thandeka, would it be okay if you switch off your video? It might help us with the network.
Okay, thank you. Hello, is it better now?
Much better, ma'am. Thank you. You can continue.
Much better. Thank you, Ms. Mata. I was just in terms of the introduction of food security, yes, our constitution, our Bill of Rights also indicates that here in the country, everyone has a right to food and water. So I think we also draw that mandate as a department to make sure that the citizens of the country also we have input in terms of giving access to water and food to the citizens of the country as it is enshrined in the constitution. But again, I don't also want to dwell much on food security. What is it? Past the two speakers elaborated a lot on that. Moving forward, it's not going now. Oh, network. Are the slides moving on your side?
No, ma'am.
Can you? No.
Maybe you can just stop it and then just do it. Take it out of the slide mode and just present like that. I think maybe that will help as well.
Is it visible?
It hasn't changed, ma'am. Yeah, you can keep it like that if that helps. But I'm not sure if maybe you have animation.
If everyone will be in.
Yeah, no, we can
If
see.
you
We
can see.
Yes, thank
Okay.
you.
Thank you. Just to give a little of stats, I think the stats has also been well presented by the two previous speakers. But when you look at the population of KZN from 2019, it has increased a bit from, and even the number of households from 2019 right to 2021 from 2.9 to 3. Household with severely inadequate food access. When you look at from 2017 to now, there's been an increasing that during COVID, a lot has happened, though we were trying to improve on this one. But then it did drop due issues of COVID-19 and the unrests and the floods in the province. Also looking at the household with adequate, we were improving, but we dropped a bit in 2020. We were at 83 general household survey, which is 2021. We dropped to 19 of issues came through on that one. Affected, as indicated earlier, the unrest, the lockdown provided some indications during this unprecedented time. Who reported receiving no income increased from 5.2% before the lockdown to 15.4% by the 6th week of national lockdown. So you can see the drastic increase of those people not having income at all. So, and again, the lengthy closure of the N3 linking Durban and Gauteng, as well as fuel shortages, have several disrupted the food supply chain. The web chain from product manufacturing and distribution, the broken link between producer and abattoir resulted in losses as a result of feeding birds beyond their optimal slaughtering weight. Some farms had been without feed for days that week. So there's a lot that was happening during that lockdown period. Some farmers would have in terms of hold, they would have feed, they would have trades, but without feed, due to about 150,000 where 50,000 informal traders had their business being affected to access some of the challenges that were faced by KZN. Moving on, this is just to indicate a performance from the department from the financial year 2018-2019 up to the last financial year, where as per the department has supported around 121,000 plus households over the period mentioned, and using an average of 3.8 household size in KZN, the department was also able to support around about 463,100 plus beneficiaries over that period. In addition, for this financial year, 15,644 households target to be supported, and by the end of the financial year, we envisage that around 137 households will be supported, and that would translate to 522,059. Up to so far, our quarter one performance indicates that already we have supported around about 4,800 plus with our interventions as the department. The interventions that we have as a department is the famous one home, one garden approach, where I wouldn't dwell much on the top information. It's exactly what I alluded in the previous slide. The narrative of the program, the justification thereof is that the program intends to reduce food insecurity at household level by ensuring increase in nutrition food production. I think one of the previous speakers said it well to say we need to be advocating your own food production. So I think the department, when farmers, they produce for home consumption, as we all know that in the country and probably even in the province, we have enough food access. But in terms of household, at a household level, that's where the challenge is. So what do we desire out of this intervention? It's an increase in food production, reduce food insecurity, reduce malnutrition level, and open market opportunities. And again, we target, I'm not sure if that one is visible. Okay, let me reduce that. Our target beneficiaries are indigent and subsistence household producers in rural and urban areas. I just want to be as quick as possible. The other intervention or program that we have is how household will be given seeds as indicated there, vegetable seeds, fertilizers, maize and dry beans. And I've also attached a budget there in terms of this financial year. And probably one would say South KZN is big and that budget is small. Yes, it's a multifaceted approach in terms of food security. This is the little that we can provide, where we need to be working hand in hand with others. I should think this would link more on the
Let's
on
move
the
towards
theme
finishing
of
up.
today in terms of yes, no, thank you. I'll do that. These are some of the programs that we embark on in terms of township agriculture. It's our one home, one garden, the community gardens in churches, and we call them institutional gardens, animal husbandry, farming in containers. We know that in urban settings and in flats, people don't have enough space, so we encourage people to make sure that food is produced at whatever space the person has or that household has. We also have hydroponics farming, mushroom farming, and these interventions are done in have started or piloted for this financial year in eThekwini and uMgungundlovu. As a start, we have for bigger communal areas, we have grazing camps, deep tanks, rehabilitation and new establishments, dam scopings and boreholes, and further on.
One minute, Ms. Nkosi.
I will here. Yes, I will end here. This is what we want to see: transformation of our household plate, from what we see on the left to the one that we see on the right. Thanks for the opportunity of this presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Nkosi. That was really helpful. I think the organizers will make sure that the attendees have access to the presentation. Even though there were technical challenges, we managed to get a sense of what Ms. Nkosi was relaying to us, that we have clear policy prescripts, the Bill of Rights, the Constitution, that then make it clear that citizens of this country have a right to food and water. And she went on to talk about general household survey that has been done in the province of KZN, and she provided stats for the 2019 to 2021 household survey that they did in the province, and she showed some of the results, but taken together, KZN, through the Department of Rural Development and Land Reform, they have programs such as food and nutrition program that is meant to support issues of food security at household level. Finally, Ms. Nkosi made a concrete point here in saying food is available at national level, but how then do we then help at household level? Because that's where we have challenges on issues of food insecurity. Now I will hand over to Mr. Ruben Riley to take us through some of the work that he is doing through the biological agricultural era. Over to you, Ruben Riley.
Hi, good morning. On behalf of the BioH team, we'd like to extend our gratitude to the organizers for affording us this opportunity. I'd also like to make special mention of my supervisor, Dr. Jeffrey Lembepe, who is on the call, and for his instrumental role in the process. South Africa is a food secure on a national level, but food insecure on a household level. And food poverty is a cosmopolitan issue that affects 18.3 million people. And that translates to 1 in every 4 suffers from hunger. In 2021, we tried to conceptualize the relationship between agriculture and food security in an urban and in a rural setting, and we noted that there were 3 prevailing intertwined factors that perturb food production, and these were climate change, fertilizer prices, and the dearth of knowledge. To go on to climate change, I think everybody is well versed in how the climate is changing, but to give context to South Africa, our temperature has increased by 0.3 degrees Celsius in the last 2 decades, and our rainfall is forecasted to decrease by 16% in future. So a 1% decrease in rainfall results in a 2.66% decrease in agriculture, and that further exacerbates food insecurity within our nation. Additionally, South Africa imports roughly 75% of its fertilizer, and the volatility of global markets coupled with the weakening rand has resulted in astronomical increases in fertilizer prices over the last few years. And the result is that farmers are putting in more and getting in less. The result has a noxious effect on the end user as the food basket continuously goes up. Currently, 64% of income in the lower income bracket is spent on food, on groceries per month. There's also a dearth of knowledge. We've noticed that recently the trends are in an urban space, in a semi-urban space, and in a rural environment. People are looking to farm their own produce to reduce the amount of money spent on food, but also to increase the sustainability of the produce, as everyone is aware that there are noxious chemicals used in agriculture, such as pesticides and herbicides, and this has severe health implications. So as BioH, we've positioned ourselves to solve these problems. BioH is a scientifically driven agri-biotech company based in KwaZulu-Natal that aims to integrate propitious agricultural solutions for the commercial, urban, and subsistence farmers. And our product development is centered around addressing the above problems. And we use 4 pillars, which is sustainability, innovation, accessibility, and affordability. In 2022, we launched our first product, which is called Nitro Grow. And this is a liquid fertilizer and plant biostimulant that is generated by recycling nutrients in agricultural waste and converting it into the plant accessible form through nanoparticle technology. But this product is unique in that it first interacts with the plant on a molecular level and then augments plant growth through the exogenic supplementation of nutrients. So in summary, how does it work? It goes into your plant, it increases your plant's photosynthetic capacity and allows for more growth. Additionally, it's able to go into your soil and bind those nutrients to the plant's rooting zone so that there's no leaching. In our studies, we've been able to show that plants are able to obtain 16% more nitrogen and 15% more phosphorus. But what does it mean on an economic scale? Farmers are able to input 23% less synthetic fertilizers and obtain 15% higher yields, less and more, which is our model. We've also got our second product, which is called the K Booster. The K Booster is a specific plant biostimulant that is developed to alleviate the effects of drought on a plant. Interaction on molecular levels again is able to prevent the buildup of reactive oxygen species and protect organelles from drought stress. Alluding to the topic of the conversation, which is water stress in an urban area, South Africa is a water scarce country, which will be further worsened as climate changes. So we've developed a product called Sphera, which is a polymer-based starch gel. It infuses with water and it's able to retain water and nutrients in the soil for 3 to 6 months. The results are that you will reduce your irrigation by 50% while still maintaining the same yield. So it allows a farmer in an urban space, in a rural space, as well as a commercial farmer to obtain higher yields at lower input costs. And lastly, but not least, to address the dearth of knowledge, as BioAge, we've been able to develop a mobile app called PANT, which is Plant Artificial Nutrient Detector. We noted that despite the urban farmers wanting to grow more, the lack of nutrients means that they are unable to grow, and further nutrient deficiencies inhibit plant growth. So Pant is a mobile app that's based on AI photometric scanning. All a user has to do is download the app, upload an image of his plant, and the app is able to determine what nutrient is missing and immediately recommend what nutrients is required to rectify this. What this does, it increases the efficiency, but more especially, it is a free download, which re-emphasizes our motto of accessibility and affordability. And at BioAge, we believe that agriculture and food security in South Africa is not dependent on how much more you can put into the soil, but rather how you can increase the efficiency to get the most of what you're currently using. And this ties into our motto of unlocking the plant's potential and contributing to food security, and using agriculture as a vector to stimulate economic and societal development within South Africa. Thank you.
Wow, thanks, Robin. Well, well within your time. You did not utilize your entire 10 minutes. I personally would like to have a presentation from you, and then I think the organizers will then make the presentation available to everyone. But some of the takeaways from your presentation is that you have a company called BioAge, and the company is meant to look at innovative ways of solving agricultural challenges as exacerbated by a number of societal grand challenges, including the issues of climate change, and to make mention that, you know, there's likely to be a worsened trend of scarcity exacerbated by the issues of climate change. And you make mention of one of your products, I couldn't get the name, but it speaks to issues of fertilizer, that it increases fertilizer efficiency in plants, but then it also it tries to avoid the of herbicides and using a synthetic fertilizer. So this is like an organic fertilizer. And then you make mention of in the urban setting that, you know, we need to find innovative ways of growing our own food, because you see in agricultural areas, like in rural areas, there's a large space of land, but in urban areas we need to find innovative ways of growing our own food while dealing with issues of land use changes, because we can see the urban sprawling into prime agricultural areas. And you are mentioning that, you know, innovative ways of growing food needs to be put in place, and then you say we need to try and avoid the issue of using pesticides and herbicides in growing our food in urban areas, and that will then enhance our health and our well-being as consumers of the food. You also mentioned the issue of recycling, and how recycling of waste can be used to create a organic fertilizer. And then you say the product that you've put forward can also be used to avoid issues of leaching, but then it's been known to be very good in promoting phosphorus and nitrogen in the plants that you are growing. And I thought that was very innovative. It reminds me of one of the areas that I'm passionate about, which is climate smart agriculture, which makes mention of some of the areas that we are talking to here, issues of using waste to enhance organic fertilizer, intercropping, and helping the soil to deal with the stresses that it has, but that are exacerbated by also issues of climate change and external factors. Then you make mention of biostimulant. I thought that was very key, but then I will then maybe not talk too much, so I can allow the participants to also have questions to what you were talking to. But overall, taken together, you also have a mobile app that you know, that's making use of AI to then be able to assess what is the stress that is being experienced by plants, and then give you an indication of whether it's phosphorus or nitrogen that needs to be put forward to assist the plant. And I thought that was a forward thinking as well. But overall, you are saying you're wanting to increase efficiency. but reducing the cost that the farmers could put, and therefore reduce the prices that we are paying in trying to eat healthy. So yeah, that is all we have for my panelists, but then we do have enough time for questions and answers, and I'm happy to take hands or read from the chat. Are there any questions to my panelists?
It's not questions per se, it's actually comments regarding the webinar. There's a lot of clapping of hands that we are happy that we are having this celebration in this manner. Happy World Food Day. I think most of the comments are just asking if the presenters can share the presentations. So as soon as we get the presentations from our panelists and speakers, we'll gladly do that. If you want the recording, we'll share it, but you can also go to our Facebook page and participate there as well. You can even still give comments on our Facebook page. And a lot of people have shared their contacts and some of the information in terms of what they do to expatiate on our topic. I think you've answered, Mr. Riley. The app, they're asking, is the app available? Can they access it?
So yes, the app will officially be ready for launch on December 6th this year.
Okay.
So I will start sending out all of the links for that. Thank you.
All right. Awesome. Awesome. And I think the hand that is up is actually your supervisor. I think you said your supervisor is Jeffrey Lebepe. Madam Moderator, there's a hand up there. I will allow Mr. Jeffrey to speak briefly. Please unmute on your side, sir. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks very much for the opportunity. Am I audible?
Yes, you are.
Oh, great. And let me just start by passing my gratitude to the organizers of this insightful webinar. So my question is basically to Miss Mbata. So regarding involvement in this food security in various communities from rural and urban areas, how responsive is the urban communities to this production of food through these hydroponic systems?
Thanks, and Dr. Jeffrey Lebepe, you've asked me a very difficult question. I didn't know I needed to answer questions as a moderator.
So the speaker was talking about this implementation of the hydroponic systems in these communities. So haven't you looked at these communities, how well they're responding to the call or the cause?
On my area of work at the moment, this is not the area we are looking at, but I will be happy to relay your question to my colleagues at the Department of Agriculture, because I know this is the area of their specialty. In my previous employment, I was in the climate change section, and we're working a lot with farmers and through extension service, and this is one of the areas that was being supported by the Department of Agriculture through their extension service program, the land care and food nutrition programs. But I'll be happy to put in touch with the colleagues who are directly involved in this area of work and the extension service at Department of Agriculture.
That would be good. Thanks very much.
Dr. Baboto, you're muted. You're muted.
Sorry. We have a question here. Thank you, Kolani. We have a question here saying, considering that low agricultural production is the key driver of poor food security, what is recommended for intense urban settlements? The home one garden approach, the one home one garden approach can work in rural and suburbia, but what about the flats? You know, we live in apartments. I live in an apartment. You know, I have a small balcony. What can I do with that balcony to actually be food secure? So, Ms. Nkosi, maybe if you can just answer that, try that. And then we'll just have one other question. I see Sile, I'll attend to you. Ma'am, if you can, or any one of the speakers. How do we do the one home, one garden in the suburban areas? Is it possible in the spaces where we live? I don't think she's probably network issues. Anyone of the panelists, Prof. Mary? Any suggestions? Can it work? Can it work in the urban areas?
All right, no, thank you so much. I was actually trying to type here, but I'd like to say, yes, it may be a bit of a challenge in such a setup, but I think what I've learned from my visit early in this year in Asia is to say they make use of what is called a hanging garden. So it does not need the soil, like the land space, things like that. So they just make use of plastic containers. They are arranged in such a way that they hang one on top of the other, and then they have their plants in there. And it was encouraging that at that institution, they even had a garden to supply some vegetables and fruits. So at the canteen, you would have fresh fruits every day. So they used the hanging garden also for flowers because they love nature, so to speak. So it's something that probably we may explore. Thank you.
Okay. I'll just allow one more question, Ms. Mbata, from Kebisile. Just briefly, please. We are on 11:28. Thank you, Ma. You may speak.
All right. Thank you so much, Dr. Mabota. I've actually posted my question because I was wondering of time as well.
Okay.
So, but maybe just to emphasize what the previous speakers just said about the urban farming. I mean, there's a lot of examples about rooftop farming, but also vertical farming, which doesn't require a lot of space that people in urban areas, they could consider. And there's a whole lot of examples already happening in South Africa in cities like Johannesburg, Cape Town, Durban, those big cities where people are doing farming on the rooftops. But coming back to my question, maybe it's more of a comment to say, how is government and its agencies plan to engage the private sector in moving forward the smallholder farmers from being survivalists to participating in value chains? So really, that was really my question, to say, how do we partner with private sector? Because I think there's a big role that private sector can play in making sure that our farmers don't just remain one home, one garden, but they can also begin to move towards participating in value chains. Thank you. You are muted, Doctor.
I need to handle my, I was saying, thank you for the question. Ms. Nkosi is not, oh, she's here. Oh, okay. I think yeah. I will allow her to respond. She's on the other side. Maybe she got kicked off. Thank you, Ms. Nkosi. I hope you heard the question. We can't hear you.
Oh, yes, thank you. And my apologies. I was kicked out on my laptop. So
okay, no problem.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can, ma'am.
Okay, thank you. I was saying my apologies. I was kicked out on my laptop. I had to join on my just to appreciate the question. Thank you. In terms of the stakeholders, yes, we as government, we do have other structures that we come together as stakeholders in making sure that we do get support in terms of these jointly in terms of making sure that our farmers, they don't only get support from us as government, but from all people who are there to lend a helping hand, and also making sure that we don't duplicate services. We are able to make sure that whatever we assist with, and we share the resources. It's just that probably when you go to our government offices, our agricultural offices, we have offices in all districts and all local municipalities where you can be able to see and be able to be linked to those structures at those levels, that when we come together as stakeholders in assisting our farmers. That would be my response, Chair. Thank you.
Okay, you're muted.
My hand. Thank you so much, Ms. Mbata, for the wonderful panel discussion. We are really grateful for availing yourselves. And now I just want to hand over to our partner in this webinar, Mr. Sanele Zulu, to do the closing remarks for us. Over to you, sir. Mr. Sanele Zulu.
Good afternoon, colleagues.
Right.
I do apologize. My internet has become unstable. I will consider this a sabotage from the internet. But thank you so much, and good afternoon to everyone. And thank you so much for joining us. My name is Sanele. Surname is Zulu, and I'm the CEO and co-founder of Green Youth Network. In fact, I had a presentation, but now I'm seeing that my internet is becoming unstable, so I will not dive into it. But really, I think I'll touch firstly on saying that we wish everyone a happy World Food Day as we touch on food security. And I think as Green Youth Network, I would like to honor and appreciate, ASSAf for considering, getting young people involved in this kind of discussion. And I must say that over the years that we've been established as a Green Youth Network, we have realized and seen that young people are always left outside of these conversations. But whenever we see that there's opportunities like this and platforms like this, where young people are considered, for us, I think as a network, it's quite exciting. It's also good to see Ruben here, who's also one of our finalists for the Green Youth Indaba. So it's always good to see young people that that are playing or taking a role within the green space or within the agricultural space, being given platforms as well. So I'll just touch quickly on just who we are and what we do as Green Youth Network. One, we're an organization that seeks to create awareness, amongst young people about opportunities that exist within the green economy. But what we also do is we educate. We focus on educational programs that then ensures that young people get access to education, access to to funding. And then the third one is we also do SME development. We run a couple of boot camps. We run SME training workshops. And I think for us, it's really important to understand that we cannot talk about food security without ensuring that we get young people involved. And I think the key critical point for us is to, one, get young people to be aware. We must create some form of awareness. And I think I would like to employ and challenge the colleagues on this platform to say, as we celebrate, basically understand the importance of education, the importance of just information.
Maybe if you can switch off your video, maybe it will help with the network. Mr. Sanele, we can't hear you.
I'm not sure if you can hear me now.
Yeah, we can continue. We can continue. We can hear you now.
Okay. Yeah. Yes. No, in closing, I think basically mine was just to basically, say that, young people are key drivers in terms of, food security as well. And therefore, I think we must then expose them to opportunities that exist, one. Two, I think young people are crying out for some form of training and mentorship, which as a Green Youth Network, we advocate for that, to say we must not only educate young people, we must not only take them to universities, we must not only make them researchers, but we must be able to mentor them, coach them, so that then they can practicalize whatever it is that they are learning. And then the last one, I think we must also then, as we advocate for youth participation within the food security or agricultural space, implore government, and say there must be funds and resources made available to inspire young people to be, key participants in the space that we're talking about today. Because without the funds and the resources, really, I think it becomes very difficult. And I think for us as Green Youth Network, we've always tried to make agriculture fashionable. We've always tried to make the green economy sexier, for the young people, because really, one wise man said, true food security is not in the shops, but it's really in the garden, it's really in the farms, it's really in the overalls. And we may know that many young people do not find that as appealing and as, and as fashionable as we would want them to. But otherwise, we must then take charge and say, young people, you can actually make a living, you can actually take part within the economy, the agricultural economy. So in a nutshell, I think as the Green Youth Network, we really appreciate, even being involved here. I know that, for example, with ASSAf, we've been wanting to do something together because we host the annual Green Youth Indaba, which is an annual conference, that has been happening for the past 8 years. So I would like to also invite the colleagues on this platform to say, do check it out and, go on the website and see as to what exactly are the programs we're running in as far as youth development is concerned and youth participation is concerned, because it's one thing to have young people made aware and trained, but it's also another thing to get young people to be actively and economically, active in terms of the economy that we are talking about, or the topic we're talking about of food security. So thanks to our participants as well as our panelists. I think I was taking notes. My book is quite full as I'm sitting here. So yeah, but thank you so much, and we appreciate the key inputs that were given by our panelists. Thank you to ASSAf and Science and Innovation as well.
Thank you so much for those beautiful closing remarks. I see that there are still questions coming through and comments. I will share this with the speakers and just to provide further information to our participants. But from ASSAf, I'd just like to thank everyone for staying on until this time, and enjoy the rugby match tomorrow. Have a beautiful day, everyone. Thank you.